Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Yes, I just spoke to Chairperson now. He's entering Parliament, so we will start in a few minutes' time. Thank you. So sorry for the delay.
It's unparliamentary.
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Chair.
I'm so sorry, honorable members. We had a breakdown just around the Kenilworth area. Our bus got stuck there, and they had to send another bus to actually, take us to Parliament. So we have just arrived now. I'm sorry about that. I wonder if we have a quorum now. Lwazi, are you there?
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, by total number of members we have, Chair, we do meet the quorum.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much. Can we actually start our meeting, honorable members? Welcome to this visual platform for our meeting. And once again, I do want to apologize for the late start. It was beyond my control. We had a bus breakdown and we've just arrived. We have a relatively short agenda. We have just 2 items. One is we will be looking at considering our strat plan and also our annual performance plan. And the second item would actually be the consideration of the draft committee meetings or the minutes, consideration and adoption of our outstanding minutes. And the third point is consideration of our draft committee 4th term program. I am ready to take apologies if there are any.
Good morning, Chairperson. From my side, I don't have any apologies, Chairperson. None were sent to me, Chair.
Okay, no, thank you. From honorable members, are there any apologies that you would like to put on record, honorable members? Okay, all right. There is the agenda, honorable members. Can we then adopt our agenda? If there are any additions, honorable members may actually indicate. Is there any proposal for the adoption of the agenda?
Good morning, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Adams.
Yes, Chair, I wanted to move, good morning, and I wanted to move for the adoption of the agenda as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Any seconder?
Mlindi Nana moves to second the adoption of the agenda, Chairman.
Well, thank you, Honorable Nana. Okay, can we move on to the first agenda item on our agenda, the consideration of our strat plan and the APP. I would actually ask our content advisor to actually table that. Dr. Manenze, are you ready to actually table that?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Lwazi or Cynthia, I don't know who's the host. Please give me sharing rights. Okay, thanks. Okay. Honorable members, let me start by apologizing. I normally don't want to start by apologizing, but let me start by apologizing for circulating this draft document this morning. I had a terrible time with my laptop. it's on and off. I do hope that it can go through this meeting without giving problems. So what we have here is a draft that still will be cleaned here and there. I'm gonna go through some of the things that I think, I'm not gonna read word for word. I'll just, point to issues, how the document, how it's structured, it starts by giving a background to this. This section on the background draws, mainly on the strategic plan of Parliament, but also the Constitution insofar as it mandates, Parliament, the National Assembly, and this committee, and moves straight to the white paper as it guides land reform, or it provides a framework for land reform, and that the role that this committee plays is to oversee the performance of the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development and the commissions and the entities in the implementation of programs. So it just highlights what we do, yes, as a form of a background. Again, as we have shown during our strategic planning session, the vision, mission, and value statement, they are of Parliament. This committee is an extension of the National Assembly. So we draw from this. What the vision is becoming, it's a transformative and activist Parliament that seeks to improve the quality of life for, of South Africans, ensure enduring equality in our society. So that means that it's something that is our vision as a committee. Every day, what the work that members do drives us to that. And we do that by the mission of this committee being to represent the people. And those are the values. I'm not going to emphasize that. Here we show the constitutional mandate. Again, it's an elaboration of what the background.
Recording in progress.
What the background is already highlighted, but in this, then it delved deep, directly into this portfolio committee, its role and the rules and the mandate that it has. I think we all know, lawmaking, oversight on the budgets and all that, monitoring of activities of the department and public participation thing. And then here we start by we're mapping the department and entities that are overseen by this department, and largely showing that the work that the department does is mandated or derives from these section 24, 5, 25, 27 of the Constitution. It's about land reform and rural development. We thought it would be important to show public entities, trading accounts, commissions, and statutory councils that this committee oversees, agricultural land holding, Ingonyama Trust Board, these, the registration of these trading account, Office of the Valuer General, the Commission on Restitution, South African Council of Planners, South African Geomatics Council. These are all entities that are under this department or this portfolio. By way of context, from here now, we go into a bit of very high-level discussion on the issues that were raised by stakeholders. And members will remember how the engagements went. It was a 30-year, an account of 30 years of land reform by the minister in the department. Again, taking stock of what land reform, redistributive land reform has achieved. Also tenure reform, looking at the communal property institutes and the communal land tenure in the former Bantu stance. We also looked at spatial planning and land use management and the traditional leaders' perspectives in rural land administration accountability and partnerships for development, all under the link. And again, the committee heard from experts around integrated rural development sector strategy. So this section summarizes how land reform has performed. I think everyone left, concerned about how different institutions, department, UWC, Stellenbosch came to different statistics, and concern about budgetary trends that are in decline, that affecting the pace of land redistribution or land reform and restitution. That was articulated quite clearly. Again, a focus on policy, equitable access to land bill, the work of the high-level panel, parliamentary high-level panel, which to some extent sort of has been left, without attention. And I think the workshop was really pushing us as a committee back to look at what is it that can be done. So there was a discussion around tenure, IPILRA, and the question of post-settlement support. Vumelana came quite strongly, speaking about CPI, CPAs, but also from Professor Kirsten, taking members through some of the recommendations that have come from previous engagements, but also from SONA. For instance, the Land Reform Agency announced by the President in 2021, and that, not being implemented, and arguing for a much more integrated approach where Land Bank works with different stakeholders, manage the Land Reform Agency to drive coordination of policy and regulation. And this work will also, according to them, the proposals before them would be also to manage what they call the land reform fund, that include private sector contribution. There was a lot of discussion around communal tenure reform again, the communal land tenure bill, bringing into discussion the role of traditional leaders who pretty much were concerned about the fact that that 13% that Africans had was poor quality land, and overcrowding, poverty, and the weakening of traditional governance systems. And the fact that there were many engagements by now, the House of Traditional Leaders expected that by now there would be a law governing communal land tenure, but unfortunately, previous conferences, nothing came out of those. And then they were concerned about lack of clarity, in terms of, and lack of consistency in land allocation procedures, tensions between traditional council and CPAs, overlapping land adjudication structures and competing claims in communal area, rising foreign land ownership in communal areas. And then they had recommendations around transfer of 13% of land to traditional councils. And they have enacted supporting legislation. Again, calling for a summit. Okay, let me not read this and go quickly. I think members will remember the discussion. Rural development, it mainly progress report by the department, but also some of the innovative ways in which members of the society in rural areas can play a role. The research that was presented by the Institute for Rural Development at UNIVER. So the other issue that we thought it is important was the mention of various court orders that have an impact on the work that this committee does. For instance, the 2010 Tongwane, which was the one that was where the court declared Clara Communal Land Rights Act unconstitutional. And really it was a procedural issue. Not to say there were no substantive issues, there were substantive issues where people complained that it undermined land tenure security and customary land administration systems and women's land rights. But because already procedure was flawed, the court declared that it was unconstitutional. We know of Lamusa and how it interdicted the commission from processing land claims. So that means that as of now, one of the oversight issues is finalizing the pre-1998 land claims. A large number of the new order claims not being touched. And then other cases like the Rahube, Meta, Maledu, Molase, this one again, members focused on. This is the one where the court appointed the special master to oversee and supervise the department. All these pieces of legislation in one way or another points us to the important role that the portfolio committee plays in terms of processing legislation, in facilitating public participation and taking inputs of members of the public seriously. Because if the committee doesn't do that, the work that the committee does might end up becoming a waste when the legislation is being taken to court. And we lose, actually Parliament lose, maybe on the basis of procedure or just not taking into consideration or meaningfully engaging with the submissions of the members of the public. This one, and I think we've mentioned it, can overemphasize more the issue around this committee, taking its oversight and accountability function quite seriously, because if it doesn't, we now know through Molase case that members of the public can go to court, and court in this case did not hesitate to appoint a special master to oversee the minister and the department while Parliament is there. This section, members, we did a situational analysis. You will remember the committee spent quite a bit of time looking at the weaknesses and strength, and we discussed this. I don't think I need to read this because these were very helpful in guiding us into defining these strategic priorities. But these priorities are grounded in the priorities of Parliament, of the 7th Parliament, which is strengthening, you can see strengthening oversight, enhancing legislative process and public involvement, improving public appointment and international engagement, which number 3, maybe this committee is not quite active. But in terms of outcomes, it's about improving effectiveness, impactful lawmaking, responsive and accountable executive, meaningful and adequate participation, that is public participation. All this, as we said, the impact that the committee must look at is to raise the quality of life for citizens, quality of life for farm dwellers, for labor tenants, for people living in communal areas. So having seen that, the committee members, having discussed the strengths and weaknesses, mapped out broad strategic priorities and came up with the 6 areas. Now, as we indicated, this is, it's sort of aligned with the strategic priorities of Parliament. For instance, 1, strengthening evidence-based oversight. So we know oversight is a key issue. And the details about this, what areas of oversight, is something that we will see in our operational plan. that will be translated into the quarterly plans, quarterly or term plans, basically. So it's this strengthened evidence-based, and we have, during the workshop, members dealt with these issues. And in this page, we look at strategic objectives of the committee and align them with the outcomes of the 7th Parliament, or priority outcomes. I think here maybe that's where one can spend a bit of time. One, we spoke about improved effectiveness. For this committee, it is about enhancing the committee's capacity to conduct rigorous, evidence-based oversight that improves accountability, ensures effective use of resources, and drives impactful outcomes in land reform and rural development. And here, something that, an objective that would be, in a way, smart would be to say that all committee recommendations, 100% of them should be evidence-based, supported by credible data, and being time-bound. I think members emphasize this, that sometimes the committee doesn't get the results it wants because of resolutions that are open-ended, that are not specific, that are not giving clear direction. And evidence, again, came quite strongly, particularly in the context of the differences in terms of interpretation of data, or even how that is collected. Responsive and accountable executive. The committee goals here is to promote accountability and effective consequence management to ensure compliance, strengthen governance, improve performance within the department and its entities. One can think about the presentation by the Auditor General here, highlighting lack of consequence management, continued irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, repeat audit finding, and just not seeing the improvement that the auditor. So here, the objective for the committee was to ensure systematic follow-up, monitoring, enforcement of committee recommendations, and performance commitments to strengthen accountability and consequence management. And members would remember they spent quite a bit of time talking about tracking and monitoring tools. Another one under the same is strengthen oversight of integrated and inclusive land reform and rural development initiative to ensure coordinated implementation, equitable access. And, when we talk about inclusive, one of the critique that came during workshop was about the fact that, for instance, women get mentioned in policy, beneficiary selection policy, but in practice, it's not very clear. So if we're driving an inclusive land reform, the committee must then look into this issue. On the question of integrated, it's more about coordination. Here in this case, with the Department of Agriculture and Land Reform having been split, members quite elaborately indicated how land reform is not only an agricultural program, but at the same time, where there's agriculture, the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development is not an agricultural department. It should be coordinating interventions by the Department of Agriculture, the tourism, or any other human settlement to implement programs. And the DD, when we come to issues of integrated approach, DDM can play as a model, can play an important role. Impactful lawmaking, members spend quite a bit of time on this. And the goal here is to enhance committees' role in shaping legislation and policy by proactively identifying, reviewing, and influencing laws and policies to advance effectiveness of land reform and rural development outcomes. The critique was that sometimes members are not proactive. They don't drive the agenda. They don't, so it was that idea that members should be in a position to drive the agenda for legislation and policy to advance land reform. So there was, members will remember that towards the end, there was a long list of pieces of legislation that were tabled for consideration with clear timelines. So one of the things that the committee can do is that over this period of 5 years, there must be a review of priority policies and draft legislation, identifying gaps and providing evidence-based recommendations for improvement. And how do you come up with evidence-based recommendation? Members agreed on the fact that there are quite a large number of government and non-government entities that are conducting research that can be invited to a committee. If you talk about Stats SA, many reports, Human Rights Commission, Commission on Gender Equality, universities, they are conducting research and they can provide data that committee can use to influence legislation in a proactive way. Here we looking at the full list and looking at our baseline or perhaps even the track record of the department. I wasn't convinced that the department will be able to table all those pieces of legislation. So conservatively, we agreed to perhaps 4. And if the committee does more, well and good. The danger of putting a large number when the department has been failing is then it makes the committee to fail. This is something that the committee has no control over. But the deadline, the timelines that we see, the department should be able to table 4 pieces of legislation by the end of this term. Again, cooperative government, here one question, key question here is about influencing the budget and engagement with National Treasury, FFC. It's quite important. And public participation, again, very important, especially as the committee deals with legislation and being accessible and dealing with public submissions. I would now move on to look at, I don't know how to minimize this. I'm gonna look at, sorry, I just want to make sure that it fits in one page. Okay. So all of the stuff or the issues that members raised are now put into some kind of a matrix or a plan that shows us over the next, it's no longer 5 years, we're now remaining with 4 years. And in fact, even the 4th, we are almost at the end of it. So in terms of committee recommendations, one, the idea that came was that because the committee's oversight must be grounded on reality and address the needs of people, and that can be done through by connecting the work of the committee with MP's constituency work or government policy priorities. So it's one area that when we look at oversight visits, for instance, what drives that? It could be the work of the committee. It could be influenced by what members bring to the committee during discussion. And that's what we mean by oversight or constituency work. So for this, normally it's the committee in terms of parliamentary program, it's 2 oversight visits. And in terms of this, the plan now, the committee will be going on an oversight visit in, I think, November. And again, there's also a chance of oversight in February and March, shortly before the end of the financial year. So again, we spoke about the time-bound recommendations. The recommendations should be 100% adopted by the National Assembly. If the report of this committee it's noted in the House, that is a bad reflection on the committee. So 100% adopted. Briefings by different institutions supporting democracy, experts, stakeholders on priority matters before the committee, including bills and policies. We had one, but we propose here that 2 per year, and over the years, perhaps 3. A number of quarterly program performance. And every quarter, the committee will have a review of the programs of the department or implementation of the department and entities. So for the remainder of this year, there will be one quarterly report before the end of the year, probably linked to the BRR process, and another one before the end of the financial year too. But the following years, it will be one per quarter. Number of capacity building opportunities, because we're talking about enhancing capacity as a goal. Capacity. So we are continuously looking for opportunities for workshops, conference, study tour. I did mention that we are trying to get details about the conference that's coming up next year in Colombia. Hopefully, we get invitation and also approval for that. Okay, I'll move a bit faster now, not going into details because members have seen this. This is members' work. It's just that now it's put in this format. Systematic follow-up, monitoring, enforcement of committee recommendations. That's follow-up issue. If you remember the discussion around our strength, weaknesses, one of the issues was now translated in objective. Here, an indicator, number of briefings on implementation of committee resolutions. So here, for example, if this committee produces a budget review recommendations report, at a particular point during the year, the committee it is within its right to invite the department and say, we have made recommendations on budget vote, BRR. Let's see, how are you doing as a department? We propose here that there will be 2. Accountability hearings, like I did indicate, it comes from an idea that as a NCOP, as a house, has these executive undertakings, a committee dealing with that. But here, we're framing it as a process where the committee will schedule a meeting and say, in this quarter, department, you undertook to do 1, 2, 3. Or minister, you said you'll do 1, 2, 3. You said you'll go and meet Mbazanyana and come back and report. Or you'll come back and report about your meeting with His Majesty the King. It's now 4 years since then. Please, so it's kind of creating a platform for accountability. 2 per year, so it means that each half of the year maybe have 1 hearing, but also sometimes gets dictated upon by a need. Number of briefings on consequent management in response to audit and other findings from stakeholders. For instance, Auditor General says, department, you have a problem 1, 2, 3, and department goes and produce a management response and what do they call it? An improvement plan. So that's part of what the committee can then call. So in each quarter, perhaps try and deal with that. Not only that, Commission on Gender Equality, Human Rights Commission, they produce, Public Service Commission. They produce reports making certain findings. Even the public protector, perhaps, certain findings about departments. If there is something, the committee is within its rights to invite these institutions to brief them and look at how the department is responding to those issues. The special master might have an issue as well. So again, percentage of department commitments undertaking followed up, and the proportion of outstanding issues resolved. Just giving, 80%, chances are that it may be 100, but giving a room there. Number of recommendation monitoring reports. So this committee on a quarterly basis will be considering reports. This is what a support staff must produce. We monitor within this quarter, 3 months. Department said it will do 1, 2, 3. How far have we gone? Or the committee submitted 5 complaints to the department. What has been the response? I think it is really around developing systems to monitor enforcement of the committee decisions. Review of by March 2018, that's the end of this, almost the end of this term of this parliament. Review 100% of priority policies, draft legislation. So it's 100% of what the department will table to parliament. So it's not, we can't be dealing with something that what they will table. We'll review that. So there will be number of here, as in terms of the activities that members discussed, policy dialogue with experts and stakeholders on priority legislation. And already this year, we haven't planned anything, but going forward, for instance, next year, it could be one. The issue of the high-level panel in the presidential advisory panel on bills, we planned next year, but I think we have already factored one this year. We will adjust it. No number of report on bills identified for introduction by committee. Here, the members said the committee must be proactive. Now, instead of saying the committee will present a bill here, the committee must discuss, having looked at high-level panel and the presidential panel report, the committee must then decide, is there a bill that the committee wants to take, or all the bills are going to be introduced by the executive? Where the committee feels there's an executive, is there room for it to produce? So it's a report that will articulate whether there are bills that this committee might introduce. I'm going to move with speed, implementation of. So the legislative program of the department is important here to get briefing. So it's follow up from the, with the department. Department said it will table, say, 10 pieces of legislation with timelines. This is monitoring implementation of that program. In the past, the committee had issues with, department not adhering to the timelines. So on a quarterly basis, the committee here indicated that it would like to monitor the implementation of this plan. Number of committee reports on legislative tracker to monitor bills timeline. So that must result in committee producing its own report on where, in how it is tracking pieces of legislation. Now, the current case with the Nelson Mandela Foundation has provided us with useful lessons, because then sometimes the court comes and say, or an applicant says, Parliament has done nothing. And how do you then demonstrate to court that Parliament has done something? It's these kinds of report where Parliament would show we have engaged with the minister, we have engaged, this is how we track. And without it, it can't just be, no, we are tracking, but there's no report. The concerns of Amakosi, especially with regard to Spluma, we propose that there be a briefing, an engagement, not necessarily a briefing, but a discussion, a conversation with Amakosi, how they would like the issues to be resolved. Already they've put proposals on the table, but perhaps it's something that the committee can work on. Monitor and evaluate alignment and coordination of land reform and rural development programs across all relevant departments and entities through DDM. It's about joint activities, joint oversight activities, for instance, on farm dwellers, labor tenants, or city dwellers who need lands, who need land, joint briefings on expropriation and compensation policy. Its coordination is, working with others. So it's jointly working with other committees to deal with issues that impact on this committee. Could be issues of women's land rights, and just implementation of rural development. The last one is, why does it feel like it's engaging with the stakeholders, including National Treasury to influence resource allocation, working with parliamentary budget office on this whole question of amendment of budget to fund redistribution. Again, National Treasury, FFC, and ensuring that budgets are adopted, or budget recommendations are adopted by the NA and the minister. Okay. That's high level of risk mitigation. I'm not going to dwell on that. The budget, honorable members, it's not finalized. It's some estimates. My colleagues will actually work with the actual numbers. But members should know that the budget that the committee has for this financial year, it's 3 million. Now, the committee has already used quite a bit of that amount of money. So if you go for an oversight visit, we know it's not going to come less than, I don't know, maybe 350. An international conference that's nothing. If there is public hearings on bills, say for instance, the department tables equitable access to land bill. To advertise that bill, it costs a lot of money on newspapers. Again, if this committee has to go on public hearings across the country, it would cost money. But I'm advised that when it comes to public hearings, at least there is a different budget for that. So it's not within the 3 million. Yes. So that's the strat. That's the strat plan. I'll quickly move for the APP. It's very straightforward. It's the same issues, but now limiting it and showing it, limiting it to a year and breaking it down to a quarter. So quarter 1 and 2, we have already done that. So we're not including anything. So we move to quarter 3 and 4. This is where we're gonna leave it at. The details of what piece of legislation, what activity will be done, will be in the operational plan. Again, Chair, I would have loved to clean it up and bring some of more issues much more clearly. But like the challenges I had, I couldn't do that. But something that I will be cleaning up, including what members will say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc. Honorable members, So there is a draft document for us. I think our advantage is that it actually articulates issues that we went into very detailed discussion around them. So they are not actually foreign or new to us. These are issues that we actually interrogated quite extensively during our strat plan workshop. Now I will be taking the honorable members' hands. I noticed there that Honorable Nyambo says hand is up. Whose other hand is up? Okay, Honorable Tetra, and I recognize the hand of Honorable Maseko. I know that Honorable Tatum Khacha's hand is up somewhere. Honorable members, you can interject if your gadget is actually failing you. Just interject and indicate the intention to actually make a contribution.
My hand is up, Chairman.
Okay, Nana. Who else? Okay, let's start off with Honorable Mtetwa. Nyambose.
Greetings, Chair, and greetings to honorable members and fellow officials. I was not part of the strat plan, but I was part of the Agriculture Portfolio Committee strat plan. So I'm just laying the foundation. Why am I raising this matter? It came out very clear from the strat plan of the agriculture that the issue of land is dealt with at the Land Reform Portfolio Committee. I was raising an issue of land with regards to a stakeholder of Amakhosi. I was saying that the land where agriculture is taking place is part of the land that was taken from Amakhosi. But the portfolio committee has now ring-fenced that land as commercial farming land. But it doesn't change the price of bread in the shop that it is a land taken from Amakhosi. But when I come to the Land Reform Portfolio Committee, I find that the issues of Amakhosi are not dealt with in this portfolio, but are dealt with in the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Government and Traditional Affairs. So then, which means the issue of Amakhosi is floating, wherein Inkosi demands his or their land. You find there is a limitation in this portfolio committee. You go to agriculture as Inkosi, you want your land, which is now being used as agriculture, you get told that land is now an agricultural land, which means it's no longer a land for Inkosi. And then you go to COGTA, and COGTA says, no, issues of land are not being dealt with at COGTA, but are dealt with at the Land Reform Portfolio Committee. So then I picked up that there is a gray area on the issues of Amakhosi being mainstreamed in at least all these three portfolio committees. No one wants to take a responsibility. I see in your statement that you say we must have a conversation with Amakhosi. And my question is, are you going to have a conversation as mandated by the portfolio committee's mandate, or you will have a conversation as a sweet by and by kind of engagement just to paper over the engagement of Amakhosi? Because from that portfolio committee on agriculture, they don't want to hear. They are very much livid when it comes to Amakhosi stating their case that they want their land. As a result, we need to then be clear as all these three portfolio committees to say, all three of you or of us, we don't want to hear the issues of Amakos because it's not your mandate. Then my question is, how did it come about that Amakosi find themselves being in Zulu, I will use the term isimba lasebusuku, which means it is a nobody's responsibility now, the issue of Amakosi's land. That question we need to answer. Land reform, you must tell Amakos clear, we are not responsible for your land. And COCTA must say, we are not responsible for your land. And agriculture must say, we are not responsible for your land. So that Amakos will take a stand to say, to know where their matters are being discussed. I know for a fact it is a strategy that is being used to actually to structure the institutional arrangement such that there are cracks on the issues of Amakosi. It's not clear who is supposed to take responsibility. But what I know is that in 1913, Amakosi's land was taken, but today nobody wants to take responsibility. Today that land is classified as property, for buildings is property, for agriculture is property, for schools is property, for health is property, for everything else, but nothing for Amakosi. Let me rest my case there. I was just noting that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Nyambose. We very much missed your participation and contribution at our strat plan workshop. Everyone was actually asking me, is Nyambose coming in at any time? Then I said no. And then they regretted that you were not there, because we had actually invited the National House of Traditional Leaders specifically to deal, among other things, that very question you are raising. The next contributor would be Honorable Masego.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we have captured everything that we talked about at the strategic meeting. Just a question, it will be on the legislations that I saw the timeline is the December 2028. So it says the key legislations introduced. It's not the key legislations processed. The problem that I'm having maybe with the recording that way is our term, this term, it will be until 2029. So the legislation if it's going to be introduced and we've got the timeline of 2028, that means it's going to fall off when the 2029 gets there. And the next term, it will be they have to restart the process again. So maybe if I can get the clarity of maybe is the English language of introduced and not processed, or what do we mean on that section? That is a little bit problematic. Another thing being, if it's get to be introduced, there are issues that we have identified that there are shortcomings because of legislations. Now, if we are going to allow until 2028 for introduction without having a short-term solution to the problems that we identified because of the loopholes in the legislation, that means this committee also is not going to make any impact in trying to do oversight on some of the issues that are cutting our progress when coming to this portfolio of land reform and the rural development. I think that's my contribution only, Chair, that I've identified. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Masego. Honorable Honorable Nana.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman, and good morning to colleagues. I am aware that staff members were elaborately thanked for putting together such a good program for us during our breakaway. But I would want really to re-emphasize that colleagues' sentiments in thanking staff members. it was quite a flawless, seamless breakaway. We hardly encountered problems. It was well organized, and then I do think professional staff requires our words of gratitude once again. So thank you very much, colleagues, for an excellent effort. Chairman, I see in the report by the content advisor that 2025, 2026, 2027, we may actually have one engagement with the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders. I somewhat think it's not sufficient given the importance of that body as a stakeholder. I really do want to. I know this doesn't happen too often to support Unyambose in some of his utterances with regards to engagements with traditional leaders. If it would be ideal to me if we can actually increase our engagements with a body such as the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders. Secondly, I do not know whether I have missed it. I must confess, when you are on Zoom, there are lots of distractions around you. I don't know whether I have missed the issue of a study tour. We did speak about the study tour during the strat plan, and if I've missed it, please pardon me, Chairman. And lastly, Honorable Maseko is correct on legislation. Amongst the legislations that are in the pipeline, the department's legal services was quite uncertain as to when some of those legislations will be coming before Parliament. And as a committee, we did raise our discomfort, and of course they did provide explanation. So Chairman, I would really want to suggest that we particularly lift out those legislations that have no clear timelines. I mean, we cannot work without timelines. Lift them up, red flag them or highlight them so that we keep track of them. If the department cannot commit to a definite timeline, the committee should consider taking over those legislations. And you will recall, Chairman, the department was first to admit that parliamentary legislative processes are a lot quicker than those of the department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Anana. Honorable Mkhaga.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, honorable members, our officials, and everybody in the platform. Chair, let me also appreciate how the report is consolidated, particularly capturing key points that were raised by the portfolio, by members of the portfolio committee in that session. let me commend really the efforts done by our officials in coming up with this structured approach. There are a couple of matters, Chair, and some were lifted in the discussion, and I'm sure some are captured elsewhere somewhere in the report, because what Dr. Manenze was just giving us highlights in terms of presentation. He touched on this question of statistics as presented by both universities, University of Western Cape and Stellenbosch. The contestation that we acknowledged in that particular session. We even requested their interaction aside of the session. I might have missed it in terms of capturing as to at the end, what is it that they've agreed on? I know the difficulty and their difficulty too, because you can't miss the point that the two universities are two poles apart in terms of their posture in dealing with societal matters. Maybe that area, if it is captured elsewhere, so that we understand exactly the ultimate response or agreement between them as far as this question of statistics is concerned. And I want to add this question of land audit. I'm not sure, Chair, whether we didn't suggest timelines as far as land audit is concerned, because I felt that even the very stats that were raised by two universities hinges on the question of the land audit. But if it has been captured elsewhere, particularly timelines, then I'm covered. But if not, then it means we can't have a strat plan without necessarily agreeing on the question of a land audit, particularly on issues of timelines. The second issue, Chair, is the question of this land reform fund. I heard officials of the department when they were raising this particular matter. It maybe it's a matter that would need further elaboration from our side, or if Dr. Manenze has jumped into detail, maybe as a response may touch in some of those areas, so that the significance of this fund is actually acknowledged and known as we go down to our people doing oversight. There's a gray area, Chair, that we have identified around the question of Sploma due to the discomforts by traditional leaders, as you have said. They raised critical issues around this question of Sploma. We thought that this matter has been resolved a long time ago. It's clear that the matter was never resolved. And it is a heated debate emerged in my commission as far as that particular issue is concerned. It's still a gray area, Chair, and I'm not sure how we're going to contend with it, but it's a matter that we must deal with, and I'm lifting it as a matter that is still outstanding in terms of its resolution. This question of Sploma. We must find a way of dealing with this particular matter. The third one, Chair, is around this question of communal land. And I want to link it with the with us availing the land, or the department availing the land for residential purposes in semi-urban and urban areas. I cited Cape Town, for instance, that there's no land for settlement, for human settlement. Our people are squashed in these squatter camps. You go to Nelson Mandela, same thing is happening, because we're surrounded by farms. These big towns are surrounded by big farms, commercial farms, and the question of land is very difficult in such situation. And I said, but we are forced because our people can't live like sardines in the land of their own. And therefore we said there must be a way where we take a bold decision to avail land for human settlements. Whether the department is forced to buy land around those farms, but our people must have land to settle so that they can realize their own dreams in these cities. It's an area that is still outstanding, Chair, and I would tag it as a matter that is a matter. It's not going to be resolved by consolidating a state plan, but it's a matter that is still outstanding for us as members. As how do we begin to deal with this particular matter? Because the reality is that even municipalities would tell you that there's no land, and that's why they are struggling to deal with this question. That's the second. Traditional Council vis-a-vis CPA was tagged by traditional leaders as an area of concern. I shared these sentiments by honorable members. Is an area of concern because the clashes, disputes, and that are happening in those areas. In fact, CPAs are not recognized by traditional councils. And how do we deal with that particular situation? Well, CPAs are the structures established by government as per the Act of Government. But traditional councils don't recognize these CPAs because they say they tamper with their land rights in the area of their operation. So it's an area again that I thought remain an unfinished business in terms of dealing with it. Rural development. It was clear, Chair, from the presentation of officials from the department that there's little work done in rural areas. There's very little work done. There's nothing tangible that I could point and say is benefiting the rural people. In our villages, there's little, next to none, done by the departments as far as this particular area is concerned. Our focus on those CPAs that are located in farming areas or semi-urban, etc. But in real rural areas, there's little that is done as far as this particular. And in industrial plan, we could not emerge with tangibles to say, we debated the matter, but we couldn't come up with ABCs as to exactly what must happen, except to adopt a principle that says budget must begin to prioritize rural areas as far as this particular. I want to emphasize that point, that the budget of the department must begin now to be directed to rural areas, villages. Each village in the country must have a project that is intended to boost the livelihood of our people. I'm sure it's a matter that we share with the traditional leaders that were there, but also as members of Parliament. The last one, Chair, is the question of land. This act, this bill, land redistribution. I was worried, Chair, when this matter was raised, even by the minister on his arrival. Worried was when again some legal fundis of the department were raising this particular matter, but particularly in relation to the content and timelines of a land redistribution. It might be possible that we may take the whole term dealing with this particular matter. And I wonder Chair, whether we cannot find a way of fast-tracking this particular matter and finish it within a very short space of time, 12 months, within 12 months, so that we deal with this matter. It will be an indictment against us, Chair, if we finish this term again without necessarily dealing with this, concluding this particular bill as far as concerned. So that necessary processes that must go into it are done properly, because you understand it's vulnerable, it's always challenged. But you can't have doubt as presented by those officials that this might take some time in concluding this particular matter, particularly at the level of the executive and parliament. It's a matter, Chair, that is concerning. I was comfortably when we were informed that it's under review, but now when officials presented this particular matter, my hopes were dashed. And so I'm saying, Chair, it's a matter that must pay closer attention. In fact, it's a matter that we must prioritize, this land distribution bill, so that it's a matter that we attend immediately. I must concur with Honorable Nana around this question of statutory. We even suggested countries, if I'm not mistaken, again, if it's captured elsewhere, my apology, Chair, but if not captured, it's a matter that we debated, because we think now that we're exposed on land issues, at least there's a base now, there are bases of us now going out to learn more models in dealing with this particular question. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mkhaga. I hope that there is no hand that is up, which actually I have not recognized. Maybe Honorable Matthias, wherever he is struggling to draw my attention so that he is actually given an opportunity to say something. And I hereby do give him an opportunity to make a contribution. Honorable Matthias, if you are online. While it looks like he's struggling,
such as the United States of America and the U.S. Department of Justice Federal Bureau, where I attended to Professor's role in counter terrorism investigation, as well as Louisiana State University, where I attended the crisis response. These training programs that I attended International Continuing Management Services, which was a development program for high performance managers.
Chairman?
As I said,
are we listening to Honorable Matthias or something else?
No.
Is that Honorable Matthias who is actually talking to us?
No, Chairman. Honorable Mkhaga's was unmuted, and it's something different.
I see. Okay.
Chairperson.
There's a hand of Adams.
Okay. Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. And good morning to the colleagues, to yourself, Chair, and also
morning, Madam.
our committee staff members. Chair, I don't want to repeat what the other members have said, because they already talk about the issues, so I don't want to dwell on it. And what I wanted to say is that we have our strat plan workshop in Saldanha Bay, which member Manana alluded to. But I wanted to say it was not only a strat plan for us on our work that we have done, but it was also a team building, because the way it was structured, the way we have the field was open for all of us to engage. It was a comforter zone that we was in. And the other thing is, it's a pity that we really struggle with finance in our committee. I don't know how will we approach that one, because what we have heard from the draft as presented from Dr. Mananze, that most of our work will be included oversight. And if we don't have funds to do oversight, really it will be a struggle, and it will be a bad reflection on our committee that we didn't do our work if we can't go for oversight to have the true reflection what is happening on the ground. So, Chair, with these words, I also wanted to thank the team, as the previous speakers have said, for the work well done, and everything that we did engage on is reflected on their draft. And I appreciate the presentation of the draft presentation that was presented to us. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. I think I saw Dr. Boshoff on the line. Would you like to also make a contribution, Honorable Boshoff?
Dalane?
Oh, Honorable Dalane.
Hello,
Honorable
good morning.
Dalane, you have the...
Yes, good morning. Even though I was not part of the strat plan workshop because it was clashing with the agriculture, I attended the agriculture. But let me take this opportunity to welcome also the consolidated strat plan program. And I think that was good. And we support whatever, and then even the inputs that our members have made. So I really appreciate it. And on my side, I don't have anything, but I will second what Honorable Adams has said, because there's nothing we can do without finances if we don't dwell much on the finances, because whatever we're planning, it's finance. If we want to go to oversight, if we don't have finance, if we didn't plan our things, they will never approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndalane. Thank you, honorable members, for your inputs. They are very, very important. Dr. Manenze.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, honorable members, for the feedback. It's encouraging. We also felt good, as Honorable Adam said. It was a relaxed atmosphere. It was it was really good. And we each time we come together, we learn a lot, you know. Honorable members, this is your plan, so I'm not gonna try and respond to all questions. And some of the questions are issues that members are raising to discuss and to debate, and some of them are not easy. They don't have easy answers. They are complex issues. For instance, Honorable Mthethwa asking a question that who deals with the issues of Amakhosi? Is it, well, he knows it's not agriculture. Is it this committee? And if it's not this committee, who is it? I think the mere fact, and Chairperson made mention of this point, that the mere fact that the committee invited the National House of Traditional Leaders, it's a recognition that they play an important role in rural land governance and administration. Members will remember that quite a bit of time was spent discussing these issues, as Honorable Mkhakha says as well, in the group discussions. Amakhosi did not only speak about their own perspectives, but there was other presentations by the research from the university that dealt with how Amakhosi are contributing in these integrated rural, development sector strategy. The discussion on Spluma. So I think we had 3 or 4 presentations that dealt with this issue. So the issue around land, communal land, customary tenure, Amakhosi plays an important role. There is no way that this committee can ignore. But having said that, it doesn't mean that this committee deals with all issues of Amakhosi. So issues around jurisdictional authority, it's not part of what this committee deals with. This committee will deal with land and land administration. Remember, in law or in terms of statutes, the land that Amakhosi occupy, it's owned by the state. Yes, we say that is the land of Amakhosi, but when you go to deeds, in most cases, I'm not disputing the fact that there are other traditional councils with land on their own right. Also, the unique situation of the Ingonyama Trust. But in most cases, it's a land owned by the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development. So indeed, land that rural communities live on is a matter that this committee deals with. It's a matter talking about administration of that land, be it in terms of customs of communities, is a matter that this committee deals with. It is for that reason that this portfolio is responsible for coming up with a communal land tenure. Now, the discussion around which Amakhosi raised around the 1913 Land Act, and I think this committee has, for the longest time, been dealing with this, and Honorable Mthethwa is quite consistent on bringing up this issue. Shall I say, it's also a big political question as well, that perhaps if the committee wants to engage, can engage on this, and if it wants to bring a resolution or a motion in the House, can do that. But this committee cannot, or perhaps to say that this committee can't expect the department tomorrow to say that it will open up claims for pre-1913 land claims in terms of restitution. The department can't do until Parliament, until this committee perhaps amend legislation or even the Constitution to deal with the question of 1913. So that's one. So it's a matter that members of this committee, must deal with it. One of the issues that came during the workshop is committee being proactive in dealing with this issue. So it's a matter that this committee can deal with, persuade one another, and see what comes out of that. So yes, this committee will deal with the land that is administered by Amakhosi, owned by the state. But in doing so, and that's why you would see throughout, we're talking about collaboration, that this committee can't deal with some of these issues alone. At the workshop, at the strategic planning workshop, there were also officials from COGTA came supporting Amakhosi. So there was an agreement that there has to be continuous engagement. And I think a suggestion from Honorable Nana I think ties in very well with what Honorable Mkhaga was also talking about. The traditional leaders, CPAs, the tensions and the conflict. So it's not only one issue of Spluma. So I think I agree with that. So look at creating opportunities for more engagement, because it seems the issues are more than just a Spluma issue. That's something that we will try and look and reflect how we can deal with that. The next question around legislation, Honorable Member, I think it's Honorable Masek. Yes, you are spot on there. In fact, in this portfolio, we have seen in the past where the executive would not bring any legislation for about 4 years, and towards the end, then rush. And it doesn't happen only in this portfolio. In the previous parliament, towards the end, there was a rush. Different portfolio, different members of the executive bringing legislation, and everybody saying it's a priority legislation. So this committee, and I think what we are seeing in the STRIDE plan, it's building mechanisms to monitor adherence to the strict timelines that the department has set for itself. Now, the problem comes when the department says they will table a legislation, they will introduce a legislation in parliament in March 2028. It's already late. That's like, it's late. So it means that the committee must drop everything and run with that legislation. Normally, Parliament does communicate days or deadlines for submission of legislation. Compliance with that, it's always a problem. But the committee can really put pressure on the executive, on the minister, in terms of the dates by which all pieces of legislation must have been tabled. So it's an important matter. So yeah, the difference introduced, it's by the department, but processed, it's when Parliament runs with the legislation, unless it is a private member's bill, it's introduced in-house, or it's a committee bill. More traditionally, the engagement, we agree. The question of study tour, in the plan, it doesn't. If you looked at the budget there, it was put, I think it is included in 2026. But it seems members are saying, no, maybe you should have it in this financial year. So the committee must have a study tour before the end of this financial year. I'm not too sure we have enough resources, but may I ask members to allow the committee secretary perhaps to go and with the researchers, or maybe it's something that can be discussed as we deal with the committee program, to think about, there were a number of countries that were suggested. We didn't have a tangible, like whether it was Zimbabwe or Kenya. I know Zimbabwe members didn't want Zimbabwe, but China or Brazil or any other country, we can look at that so that we emerge out of this meeting with a clear direction. And I know the researcher was also doing something, trying to look at these countries as well. The legislative review. Okay. The question of statistics, it is somewhere in the report, in the discussion, in the details of this plan. But what is not coming out clear is perhaps, and somewhere where we are saying we will have engagement on statistics, how it is captured. It's captured around engagement with the stakeholders and experts on critical matters before the committee, one of which is the issues around statistics that are in a way conflicting. But I take that observation to say, let's make it much more specific, because I think this was one of the crucial issues. We can make it more specific, even from the level of the strategic plan up until the operational plan, that we take that point. The land audit, it is also mentioned, but because the committee won't do the audit itself, so I'm now trying to find a right balance between putting all the sort of the details. For instance, one can be, if we talk about overseeing or member of the executive being accountable on certain committee resolutions and committee agreements, one of them is a comprehensive land audit. Now, this committee with its monitoring or tracking tool will be able to say, so this committee has agreed on or took a decision that there should be a land audit. How far are you with this, Minister? Give us timelines. By when are you finishing the audit? So we will try and look and see how do we strike a balance between the full details at a level of strategic plan versus details at a much more operational. Because I think it does bring much more clarity if some of these things are reflected at the level of strategic plan. The question of land reform fund. This was raised by Professor Kirsten when he spoke about the land reform agency, that it was announced in 2021, but it's nowhere to be found. Nobody's talking about, ministers are not implementing it. One of the things that it was going to do, apart from coordinating a policy and regulating, was to manage the land reform fund and also the donations of land. And in the strategic plan, there is a proposal again for engagement with stakeholders, Land Bank, because they mentioned specifically Land Bank, National Treasury, again, people like Professor Kirsten and other economists, you know what, and also those panelists who were in the presidential panel, because I think they do highlight some of these issues. How do we take this forward? Where is, and also get responses from the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development and the Minister of Agriculture. And perhaps this is one area where there could be a joint meeting with the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, because Professor Kirsten raised issues around CASP and also was drawing lessons from how the Land Bank was used in the, during the apartheid era to empower poor farmers. And he says, but what's stopping them at this point in time to do exactly that? Yes, and then, all right. So urban land, it's captured, non-agricultural. I think it was a huge it was also huge when the department said, well, land reform is not only about agriculture, but also urban land. It is a role of this committee as it deals with all these details in oversight and say, okay, for instance, public works hold a lot of state land and other, entities hold public land. Release of this public and state land for use in cities. There is a proposal in the plans to have engagement with public works around, the release of state land for occupation, for human settlement, basically. Not only state land, but also private land, acquire it for redistribution. I've dealt with the CPAs and traditional leaders and the issue of rural development. In the document, it speaks about the district development model and coordination. That was the key issue. The committee acknowledged that this department doesn't have all the resources and funds to deal with rural development by itself. It has to play a coordinating role. Public works, education, all the other departments must come on board and do and implement projects, rather than this department building schools, building roads, buying computers, drilling boreholes and building dams, whereas these other departments have budgets and resources for that type of work. Legislation, there has to be, and I think it was quite strong, there has to be engagement around pieces of legislation, priority pieces of legislation. For this committee, equitable access to land bill, what we call redistribution bill, is a priority. Communal land tenure is a priority. The special planning and amendment of SPLUMA to deal with the issue of Amakosi members indicated it's a priority, but also issues around regulations, the CPAs, expropriation regulations, which is not under this department, but under public works with a compensation policy. So the plan says the committee must have an number of engagement with these departments collectively to try to find out what is happening, how are we moving with this thing, but also how can we fast track. And my honorable member is right. In the plan, it says where the committee, can see that there's a delay in the executive, they're not meeting the deadlines, or even the conceptualization of the bill is wrong. The committee may want to say, we will take this legislation and run. Of course, it's a process that the committee must engage, with the minister, so that there is no confusion or just this. Or sometimes you take legislation thinking you'll run with it quickly, but you quickly realize, hey, we do not have capacity. So it's something that needs to be dealt with. I think, Chair, I've tried. So I have captured this. We are going to try and elevate some of this, clarify where maybe it wasn't very clear what the concern is. And thank you very much. And there was a comment. I saw a comment on chat.
Okay.
The issue of interpretation of land reform as per the department versus stakeholder. It's Honorable Masek. Yeah,
it's me, Doctor. I wanted to find out because what I've identified with the UWC and the Stellenbosch when we engaged, when coming to the land reform itself, it seems they are not at the same place with the department when you look at their stats of the achievement on the land reform. So maybe the issue is the interpretation that is there. If we can get also to have that or in engaging with different stakeholders as a committee to find out when they give the statistics of the land reform, what is it that they look at? It will be clearer and it will tell us how far is the department in the land reform as per the interpretation. Thank you.
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
That's
yes.
part of that discussion around statistics, because you will realize that Professor Kirsten looks at land acquired, looks at financial compensation that was paid, looks at private acquisition where private individuals use their own money to buy land, and say, well, if you look at all of this, we are actually way ahead. We're closer to meeting the targets, or we have even exceeded. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Doc. Honorable members, thank you so much for your insightful, contributions. There was also one concern from Honorable Muhaha relating to the agency of the land redistribution bill. and he actually felt that that needs also to be prioritized by this committee in terms of tracking it and ensuring that indeed it gets the necessary agency that it deserves. Other than that, I think most, if not all, the issues that were raised by honorable members have actually been covered. Some of the issues here, I'm sure, will actually enrich the final draft of our report in terms of clarifying some of the issues that have actually been flagged in the report. I think one would then expect a principal kind of endorsement of the structure of the report. Although Dr. Manenza said that he's still going to go back and refine the document, but it will help to actually to say exactly how we feel about the structure of the document that has actually been presented to us, and the content and so on. Is there any proposal for a principal adoption of what we have just been presented to us?
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Mkhakha.
No, I concur, Chair, with your suggestion that let's just adopt a principled approach, because the business remained unfinished until the office is clinical about the strat plan. But let's approach, because 99% of the issues are captured in the report, so that they are not stuck with the adoption. But before that, Chair, I want to make this proposal, Chair, because remember, you said we invited the treasurer, and the treasurer couldn't honor our own strat plan. It was in relation to this under budgeting, and I don't think that that invitation is still irrelevant. We still need to meet the treasurer to deal with this question of under budgeting for this portfolio, and maybe invite Stats SA. Because it's only Stats SA that could adjudicate about the misinterpretation and misunderstanding around this question of audits, etc., etc. That was what I was going to suggest, Chair. But I think it's beyond this question of strat plan. It's a new proposal, but I thought that because the treasurer couldn't honor our own strat plan, we still have to meet the treasurer so that we deal with this particular matter of under budgeting. But I mean, I'm adding question of Stats SA. Thanks, Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Mkhakha. I wonder if there is any seconder of the proposal of a principal adoption of the strat plan that has actually been presented just now. Any adoption of Honorable Mkhakha's proposal?
Chair, it's Member Maseko. Can I propose a counter offer?
Okay.
Here, looking at our APP and our strategic plan, we are also setting up the timelines for ourselves. Already we are going on another quarter, of which is not giving us a lot of movement that we can postpone adopting this, and with the amendments maybe that doctor is going to try to insert in our report. Maybe moving forward, it will be also having to slot in on our parliamentary programs to have the treasury in preparation for the new the new financial year. But for now, because this is a document that say what is it that we are doing as the portfolio committee, can we agree to adopt that? Then we've got a working document that we are going to use in evaluating our work as we move forward. That is my proposal, that we go that road. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Masego. And I think the proposals, the two proposals are actually complementary in my view. They are not at variance, with each other. Honorable members, there is an improved proposal from Honorable Masego. What is our take on that?
Chairman,
Honorable Nana?
yeah, your summary of the two proposals is correct. I therefore wish to second the proposal.
Well, thank you, Honorable Nana. In fact, it also will, in a way, make the life of our support team much easier, because then they will be actually refining a document. In fact, in putting in all the contributions that we have actually made today, with a view, knowing that at least they are dealing with a document which has substantially been actually adopted in principle. Thank you, honorable members. Now, can we move now on to our next item, which is the fourth quarter program, parliamentary program. I will ask our secretary to actually present it. Loazi, do you want to talk to the program?
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, I will just note all the meetings that we are planning to have on the fourth term, Chairperson. But the committee must also note that we are still waiting for the guidelines of the fourth term from the Office of the House Chair, Chairperson. Is that clear, Chair?
No, it is clear. I was actually also going to, in fact, I nearly forgot, there is this issue of the engagement with the Treasury. I remember that we actually said at our strat plan workshop that even though the Treasury could not make it to our workshop, but there is nothing that prevents us from inviting the Treasury to actually come and engage with us in our committee deliberations. So it's a question of finding a slot in our in one of our meetings going forward, where we can actually invite the Treasury. It is important that as a committee, really, we need to clear the issue of the budget. We need to talk to the Treasury, because however good our plans may be, but if there is still going to be this persistent, progressive decline of the land reform budget, it's not going to, we will not be getting anywhere as a committee in our objectives to actually restore land to our own people. So I would actually suggest that we find a way of slaughtering in the engagement with Treasury in our future meetings, but prioritize that. Yeah, honorable members, our fourth quarter program is actually being shown on the screens, on our screens. If there are any comments, I'm ready to actually take those.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
No, what I was thinking, Chair, I was just gonna read some of the meetings that we have proposed on the program so that at
Okay.
least members can have a clear picture on the fourth term program, Chairperson.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
No, you may do that.
Okay. On Tuesday, 7 October, we will be having a joint meeting with the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, briefing by the Auditor General and the Department of Agriculture. That's for the PRRR, Chairperson. On Wednesday, 8 October, we are planning to have a briefing by the ITB, CRLR, and the OVG on their respective annual reports. Briefing by the Parliamentary Legal Service on legal questions regarding summoning the directors of Ingonyama Trust, your Ingonyama Holdings. 15 October, briefing by the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development on the outcomes of his intervention at the Ingonyama Trust, especially his engagements with the sole trustee, His Majesty King of the Zulu Nation. 22 October, progress report by the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development on Ramotlakane, Zwelabantu Dube and Kambule, Mbadlanyana Family Trust. Wednesday, the 29th of October, briefing by the directors of the Ingonyama Holdings on the functions of the investment arm of the Ingonyama Trust financial statements. Briefing by the South African Police Services, Hawks, as NCIPC, DTIC, with regards to the progress in relation to the various investigations reported by the ITB. Then on the 3rd to 7th November, that week, Chairperson, it's oversight week. And our committee has been slotted in Group B. So we are tasked to conduct our oversight on that week of the 3rd to the 7th of November. And then we wanted to propose to members, because we have 3 provinces that we are looking at. So by the guidance of the chairperson and honorable members, on which province should we conduct our oversight? We have Northwest Province, we have the Northern Cape Province, and we have Limpopo Province, Chairperson. Moving to the 12th of November, briefing by National Treasury and NFC on the funding of land reform. 19 November, briefing by the IMC on land reform on progress in relation to the implementation of the recommendations of the Presidential Advisory Panel. Progress report on the development of the equitable access to the land bill and the communal land tenure bill. 26 November, briefing by the Minister of Public Works and Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development on developments of expropriation regulations and compensation policy and release of state land for redistribution, especially well-located land in cities. 3rd December, consideration of the oversight report and minutes. Then on the 17th December to 23 January, it's leave, Chairperson. It's December holidays. I thank you.
I'm sure you are already looking forward to that period. While looking, taking the the emphasis that you put on. that.
Hey, Chair, I don't want to incriminate myself. I'll reserve my comment.
Honorable members, there you are. Maybe we could actually, for now, focus on the issue of our possible oversight visit to one of the three provinces that have actually been suggested. That's Limpopo, Northwest, and the Northern Cape. So we would actually appreciate the guidance by the honorable members as to which one of these provinces would be ideal for us to go to. Northwest will provide us with an opportunity to interact with CPAs and in particular Sobotla, something like that. And the Northern Cape, I remember that Honorable Lucas has always been actually also saying that she feels that Northern Cape is not actually given the necessary attention insofar as land reform programs is concerned, because even previous committees have never actually prioritized the Northern Cape, and yet they do have land issues that the community out there would like to actually raise. And the issue, and in Limpopo, we could actually also be able to see CPAs as well as this vast project which actually failed, the Zabetiela Citrus project, on which the government actually pumped in millions of rands, but it actually just failed. So that could also provide us with an opportunity to understand, deeply, what really happened there, why did it fail, and so on. And also, it failed despite the fact that it had a strategic partner. And the attitude of some of our people out there regarding these strategic partners, especially in places like Mpumalanga, where we had been, and we met some of the strategic partners. So we would actually appreciate your guidance, honorable members. Thank you. I will recognize hands. Feel free to just chip in, because.
Okay, Chair. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Chair, I'm going to suggest that you and the officials give you the proxy of looking at the logistics of traveling, because the provinces that you're talking about, the Northern Cape and Northwest, they are close to each other. We can deal with that. But if we do Limpopo also, that means we have to do Northwest and Limpopo. They are close to each other. Looking at the traveling, that is going to be excruciatingly painful, and it will be the time that is very hot as we travel. So if we can leave that to look at where we will go, it's either Northern Cape or Northwest, or Northwest and Limpopo. They are close to each other, and give you the proxy of seeing if that will be acceptable for logistics when you arrange the traveling. Thank you, Chair.
There is the proposal, honorable members, that we as MENCO, we go and look at the logistics of actually going to 2 provinces.
Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Adams. Somebody's
Thank you very much.
somebody's mic is actually not muted.
Can I continue, Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. I like the proposal of Honorable Maseko, but I wanted to ask for the oversight to be done in Northern Cape, due to the fact that we never visit in my time that province. Not it's because it's my province, but actually the CPAs there is requesting for a long time now for a slot on the committee's meetings, or to be visited as during oversight time. So I will really make a humble request that, and I am not sure, did the committee already visited the province in the past? But for now, it's my request that we done our oversight in the Northern Cape. I thank you.
Well, thank you, honorable members. I will recognize hands if there are still any.
Yeah, Chair.
Dalane?
Honorable Ndalane, I hope you are not going to say, let's go to Limpopo.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think I don't have a problem of going anywhere, but let's take the first proposal made by Honorable Maseko, and that we leave it to the office and then you will guide us. Isn't that you are going to do the research exactly? Ne? And we must also mind the distance, because matching Northwest and Limpopo, I know it's near, even Northwest, Northern Cape and Northwest, it's near, but we must also check the distance, because we mustn't spend more time traveling and then it must be less, because we will be wasting our time traveling from each. I remember last way in the Northwest with agriculture. The issue is that we drive, we're traveling distance and then moving from one hotel to another hotel the following day, which is sometimes waste of time. So if we can leave it to the office just to do the research, I wouldn't have a problem also to go to Limpopo, because really the issue of Zebediela there. It's a serious problem that needs our intervention also. And also the issue of the CPA, it's a serious problem. The land issue is also a problem in Limpopo. So, but I'm not saying let's go there, but I'm saying let's leave it to the office to do that research, and then they will guide us. Thank you, Chairperson.
Well, thank you, Honorable Ndalane. I suspect that somebody's mic actually has been open and there is a little bit of noise in the background. Okay.
Chair?
Yes, Honorable Mukhaga.
No, Chair, I'm not vehemently opposed to the suggestions. Well, I know it's a technical matter. But I thought we'll consider Northern Cape because on its own, it's a vast province. Distance becomes a factor when it comes to Northern Cape. It might be very difficult to combine it with another province. Taking into account the question of heat, again, we don't want to kill ourselves on the road because the distance is a factor when you go there to Northern Cape. And maybe adopting a principle that says we must dedicate a visit to one province per time. Just a principle if it's possible. But I think for now, Chair, for various reasons, I think Northern Cape must be prioritized in your consideration because distance is a factor when it comes to Northern Cape. Areas are scattered and definitely sure to combine it with another province would be really killing ourselves. Thanks, Chair.
Well, thank you, honorable members. Well, let us please second for the principal suggestion that we leave the matter to the MENCO, to the management committee of this portfolio committee to look at. A thorough research will be done in terms of distances and also even the climatic conditions of the areas that we are proposing to visit, and also the issues that we would like to interrogate when we get there. So the weight of each of the issues that we would actually look at, and then that should also influence the decision or the choice of the province that we would eventually want to go to or to
Jay,
go in.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jay, my hand is up. I would just want to make an input. I see you are concluding. Could you afford me a quick opportunity?
So who is that? Is that Honorable
Sorry,
Pothoff?
Boshoff.
Oh,
Thank you, Chair. Now, I follow the logic of doing a province at a time. But if we look at the Northern Cape, I think there are two main areas which we might be interested in. The one is north of Uppington, Riemvasmark, that area. And then the other would be the Richtersveld, which is to the west. And if one flies, one would fly to Uppington and then drive about 3 hours to Richtersveld. Or one could drive up from Cape Town to Richtersveld and then to Riemvasmark. But the other area, which could be of interest, is more around Kuruman and then towards, well, on the northwest side it is Taung, but the Polokwane area and then to Kimberley. And that would combine with a certain part of the northwest very easily. It's actually indistinguishable. It's a little bit of an artificial line between the Northern Cape and the northwest in that area, while the Richtersveld and Riemvasmark area wouldn't be possible to combine with anything else, I would nearly say. And then also, if we look at Limpopo, where Zebediela is and where the southern parts of the northwest is, that is actually also not combinable. But other areas of the northwest is easily, let's say we look at the area of Ga-Rankuwa near to Gauteng and on the border of the two, then those two could be easily or more easily be combined. So it just to confirm the ideas, let's leave it to the management committee, but I don't think we should have an approach of a province per time, but rather, let's say something that centers around a transport hub, like a airport. Which areas can we all reach within easy distance from either Polokwane Airport or Uppington, something like that. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Honorable Pothoff. Well, those are inputs that actually will assist the MENCO in actually drawing up an oversight plan. I think unless there are also other matters that or issues contained in our fourth quarter program that members would like to raise. Well, in the absence of any other matters in the program, can I then see the hand that will propose the adoption of our fourth quarter program? The fourth term program.
Dalane,
Honorable Ndalane.
I move for the adoption of the fourth quarter program.
Thank you. Any seconder?
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Adams.
Honorable Adams, thank you, honorable members. The last item would be the consideration of the minutes of our previous meeting. I hope they were circulated. Yes, indeed, they were circulated. Honorable, the committee secretary, would you like? Oh, yes, no, they are there. Honorable members, I would like us to go through these minutes page by page, not to read them line by line, but page by page, so that we are sure that we actually agree with the entire document, because this is actually going to be, once adopted, it becomes an official document. So we need sometimes to be very careful what we are actually endorsing in the minutes. Committee secretary, on the first page, are there any issues? Is there anything that honorable members would like to raise on the first page? Well, at any rate, it's only the listing of the attendance of members and the apologies. Then the next page. Yeah, okay. Any matter for consideration on the second page?
Chairperson,
Yes.
is this our last meeting? This one?
This is our last meeting, I think. Yes, it is. These are the minutes of our last meeting.
Can you please go back to the attendance? I don't see myself.
Okay.
The attendance, I don't see myself.
Yes, you were there, I remember. Okay, we can actually please insert the name of Honorable Dr. Matlatsi. Okay, thank you for that.
LW.
That's right, that's right, Kalimambo. That's right, Kalimambo.
You can fix it later, but after M comes A. You missed A. Mahlatsi, not Mhlatsi. I'm a South
MA, yeah.
That A
between H and M and H is an A. There must be A between.
We'll fix it, Chair, to save time. We'll fix it.
Okay.
No,
all
no,
right.
no. Don't say that. I wanted to be nice about it. Now I want that A there. Put that A there. It was just A, not the whole thing. and United African Transformation. I think this is where we are now.
Mm.
Africans, not one African. Africans.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Matlatse, for noting that.
Kanimam.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to page 2. Is there anything that honorable members have picked up on page 2, either for correction or for addition? Okay, page 3. Okay. Page 4. Page 5. That's the last page. Honorable members, any proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
Chairperson.
Honorable Adams.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the minutes of the 10th of September with all the corrections. Thank you.
Well, thank you,
Ndala-
Honorable.
Ndalani second.
Honorable Ndalane seconds. Thank you, honorable members. Thank you very much for making time for this meeting. And also thank you for your contributions. And thank you also once again to our support team for putting together such a comprehensive report on our strat plan workshop. Thank you so much. With that, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Thank
colleagues.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Colleagues, thank you.
Thank you.
Sithi sodwa mos. Ubuparlament. Akakhupheki yena.
Guys, Nhlele, what are you sitting here for?